Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news in the NHL this evening, late 11 p.m. on Thursday. Leap year news, February the 29th, 2024, as the Toronto Maple Leafs have acquired Ilya Lyubushkin from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for a third-round pick, essentially a third and a sixth, as they also give up a draft pick for the Carolina Hurricanes to be involved as a third party to retain some more salary. So with Lyubushkin at 75% salary retention, he's making less than league minimum, like 600 something thousand. It's a good deal for the Leafs in terms of getting a defenseman for a super cheap price for the salary cap hit, I mean. But in terms of the value that they'll get from Lyubushkin for the picks they gave up, I can't say I'm a fan of this trade. So as I always say, it's instant reaction and analysis, as the title says. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. I know I'm going to bed. I just got off of I was at work for 13 hours, so I wanted to go to bed. A trade happened. I said, hey, this is what data does. This is what data does for the channel. So I hope that you're all able to enjoy it. It'll be a quick breakdown, but we will break it down here, ladies and gentlemen. So first and foremost, we'll check out the Leafs in a moment once we can refresh the cap friendly. But just to remind you of the trade itself, and we just got news on what year those selections are as well. The Toronto Maple Leafs receive Ilya Lyubushkin from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for a 2025 third-round pick. We'll look at the Leafs pick in a moment and their picks over the next few years. And to the Hurricanes, in exchange for saying thank you for retaining some salary, it is a 2024. That's what it was. 2024 fourth. So 2025 third, 2024 fourth. Is going to, yes, that's what it was, going in this deal for the Hurricanes to help out a little bit. It's very limited salary retention at all, so it makes sense why it wasn't as much as, say, the Tanev deal, where a fourth-round pick was exchanged for salary retention. From Mexico, welcome, Dexter, from Mexico. What are you doing down there, buddy? Yeah, those picks are from the Maple Leafs. Yes, very well to mention that. So if you scroll back to the top here, I just want to show you a few things that popped up before we get to the J Fresh card in a moment. Interesting. The Leafs are also, so the Leafs will also receive, we didn't have this until right now, the rights to Kirill Slepets to complete the double retention deal on Ilya Lyubushkin. So the Leafs receive Kirill Slepets. So give me a moment just to add that to the trade. I'll pull up his card. So Leafs fans, get excited. You got Kirill Slepets coming to the team. For all I know, he's a 24-year-old 7th-round pick who's never coming to the NHL. Kirill Slepets. All right, good evening, Mackenzie. Welcome to the stream. Here we go. Kirill Slepets is a former 5th-round pick of the Hurricanes. Yeah, he's 24 and never come to the NHL. There you go. Exactly. So, yeah, he's not coming to the Maple Leafs anytime soon, I would think. I'd be shocked. Doesn't look like he's doing anything too crazy in the KHL either. So that's the deal. I'll have to add that to the description later on. But the Leafs in total would be receiving Ilya Lyubushkin and the rights to Kirill Slepets in exchange for a 2025 third and a 2026 fourth to receive Lyubushkin at 75% retained. Saravali's saying, 2024 sixth. Yeah, okay, I got that right. Sorry, I said a fourth. My apologies. Yeah, 2025 third and 2024 sixth. All these numbers in my head flying around. So it's a third and a sixth. I said fourth because I was thinking of the Chris Tanev deal. So it's about the value. As Puckpedia says, the value on 25% retained, which is $687.5K, is about a 7th-round pick. So it makes sense that they get a 6th out of it, just a few selections off. J Fresh card, let's go ahead and pick it up. 7th-round pick 1, so late 6th, pretty much evens out. So Ilya Lyubushkin, acquired by Toronto, is a physical depth defenseman. He's put up good D results earlier in his career, and he's actually not a bad puck mover, but one of the most victimized blue liners off the rush in the past 3 seasons, and he takes too many penalties. So as you can see right here, don't focus too much on the things like the even strength offense and stuff like that. Those numbers are going to be skewed from the rare numbers that he'll put up. Look at that even strength defense, and look overall at the projected wins above replacement percentile. Look at the levels of competition he's against. He's not against the craziest levels of competition, yet his level of teammates, because he's playing with Mintyukov, he's been getting a little bit of a boost in that regard. But overall, scary numbers. You see his defense was looking amazing. Of course, I'm sure a much smaller sample size, unless I'm mistaken. Good evening, Mr. Brian Michalak. Welcome, everybody. Oh, some sun in the fun. What's wrong with me? Fun in the sun. I told you it was a 13-hour shift. It's a 13-hour day, I should say. It's not. I'm not working shifts anymore. It's just days of work. So the even strength defense took a massive drop into 2022-23, and this season he's way below, more in that 15 to 20th percentile type of thing. Yeah, Buffalo, Arizona. So keep that in mind as well. He hasn't played on good teams either. But that being said, he's been playing with good levels of teammates, and he's still putting up those types of numbers. Because we look at the microstat card from 2023-24, we see that Lyubushkin has played mostly with Mintyukov, who's really good, and he seemed to drag Mintyukov down a decent amount. Very similar results in Buffalo last season as well. So don't get too impressed by the Blues here. 88th percentile of chances and stuff like that. He's not getting many chances. Just the few that he gets, I guess, are good. But look at the even strength defense, that 13th percentile this year. Not as bad as that last card would make it look a little bit. But aside from that, a lot in the single digits here. Entry denial rate, important things. 3rd percentile. Entry chance prevention, 1st percentile. You know? Do you think this is comparable with what the Bruins could get for Grzelcyk? I think the Bruins could get more for Grzelcyk. So that being said, as Jay Fresh goes on to finish off, the hope here is the Leafs can salvage a decent enough physical third pairing player like they did with Simon Benoit, but this seems like a bit of a redundant ad. Also, wasn't he not good with the Leafs in 2021-22, especially in the playoffs? So if we look at Lyubushkin as a player, he's of course logging a ton of blocks, a ton of hits. He's a big physical guy who's actually eating some solid minutes. It's not a guy playing 11, 12 minutes a night. This is a guy playing 15, 16, 17 minutes per night. If we look in Anaheim, yeah, this guy's playing big minutes for him, I would think. So that being said, so I'm just seeing some of the comments in here. Yeah, Benoit better for sure this season, of course, as well. What am I looking for? So 4 assists this year, -13. Don't get too tied up in that. He's playing big minutes on a bad team, so don't really get focused on that. What I would say is, look, he's still putting up the blocks. He's still putting up the hits. He's on pace for a career. He's already at a career high for blocks, and he's on pace for, I would think, would be a career high in hits, 112 in 55 games. If it was an 82-game season, that would be 167, almost a career high. But yeah, it would be for hits and blocks combined. So Benoit does those. Lyubushkin does those things. He was traded to the Maple Leafs in 2022. He played 31 games with the Leafs, scored 6 points, 25 penalty minutes. He was a +4. That trade was in exchange for Nick Ritchie and a conditional pick. He went with Ryan Dzingel. So this is a bit of a different deal a couple of years later. He's back in Toronto, and Toronto needs some defense. As we can see here, Mark Giordano just coming off, he just got a head injury as well. So if we look, I don't know if it'll be updated here. Is Lyubushkin going to be here? Yes, he is. Perfect. So we can see the draft pick situation now for the Maple Leafs as well. We can see that the draft pick situation is getting pretty bleak. So if we look at a 4th, we said it was a 3rd in 2025, yes. And then the 6th in 2024, yes, that's what it was. So now in the first 3 rounds over the next 3 years, you now have only 3 out of 9 of your own picks and 4 out of 9 of those picks in total because the Islanders 3rd. So no 2nd, no 3rd in 2024. No 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. That's what hurts the most. No 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in 2025. That's really brutal. And then no 2nd in 2026. But yeah, the 2025 is what really kills it. No picks in the first 4 rounds. That's almost unheard of. Someone has a 4th or a 3rd in there, but no picks in the first 4 rounds for the Maple Leafs in 2025 at this point. Of course, conditional pick here. Which trade was this? This was... Is it going to bring me down to it? If they finish bottom 10, that's probably not going to happen. I see. Okay, they get their first... Only if they finish bottom 10, which likely won't happen. Where was Maple Leafs? Oh, and the Joey Anderson... And sorry, the Jake McCabe trade. I see. Top 10 protected, which it's not going to be top 10 most likely. So yeah, it's most likely a pick that's not going to be there as well. So that being said, looking at the defensive depth here in Toronto, where does he fit in? Morgan Rielly, TJ Brody, they're up there. McCabe, Liljegren, yep, no problem. Giordano injured now, so in comes Simon Benoit with Ilya Lyubushkin. Maybe not that pairing, but there's your top 6. Benoit, Lyubushkin, Liljegren, McCabe, Brody, Morgan. And Liljegren had just been injured as well recently. They saw what happened when Rielly was out due to injury, and then Liljegren was as well. It's a shaky time in Toronto on the blue line. Yeah, and just no first in general in 2025 is tough in that draft class. You're right, John. William Lageson, yeah. So yeah, the depth chart won't really be super accurate right now. But now looking at the Anaheim Ducks, they pick up a third and a sixth in this deal. That's solid for them. Good return on a guy who wasn't really doing much for them, especially in a year like this. He was eating, like I said, big minutes, but he wasn't really he wasn't even part of the future. Expiring deal. May as well get some value for him now. And that's good value. A third and a sixth is not bad at all for an expiring guy who's playing third pair in Toronto, right? Can we get is this refreshed? Yeah, okay, perfect. So the Ducks now have 6 picks in the first round here. Sorry, in this first year. In 2025, a first and now 2/3. So they will have 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12 picks in the first 3 rounds of the next 3 years. So that goes very much into what they're trying to do right now and will perfectly the sixth goes to the Hurricanes. Sorry, the sixth goes to the Hurricanes. That'll perfectly add into their timeline right now as well. So if we look at the Hurricanes, they were involved in this deal just retaining some salary. They get a 6th round pick for their troubles. Why not? There you go from the Maple Leafs. That gives them the 6th in this year's draft. Why not? So going back to just kind of recapping the breakdown of the deal itself, it's a 3rd round pick and a 6th on this. It's not just a 3rd and a 6th. It's a 3rd and a 6th from the Maple Leafs. And again, it's not a lot of salary cap either at below league minimum, but it is still more money coming in and more picks going out. The Leafs now have another couple of picks gone from their stash. Of the next 3 years, 7 rounds, you have 21 picks. Of the next 3 years, just looking at their own, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They've traded 8 out of 21 just of their own picks in the next 3 years. And that's, if you're just looking in the first 4 rounds, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the next 12. So it's a lot of picks moving out. Again, if you win the Stanley Cup, if you go on a crazy deep run Stanley Cup final, you forget all about those 4th round picks and 6th round picks very quickly. But for a team that might end up needing them, or just wanting to use, not needing them, but just wanting to use them in other bigger deals, like a Noah Hannafin type of deal, something like that, then it's a little risky to be moving picks in a deal like this. 3rd pair, expiring contract, depth, physical defenseman, there goes a 3rd. And a 3rd holds a lot of value, at least a fair amount of value. So I don't know if the Toronto Maple Leafs can do much more at this point. I heard it said that they don't want to move their 1st this year in 2024. That leaves only really a 1st and a 3rd in 2026. They want to have back-to-back years in 2025 and 26 of no picks in the first 3 rounds. Yeah. And that's it. A 3rd would not move the needle for Noah Hannafin. Definitely not. They would absolutely have to move a 1st round pick and plus a 1st round pick plus Nick Abruzzese something being tossed in there as well. So Ilya Lyubushkin, he's a very physical guy. He hits, he blocks, he'll do fine in that regard. Will he be a defensive liability with the Toronto Maple Leafs? It looks like, although he's been on some bad teams, he hasn't been great in recent history either. That even strength defense had that big jump in 2021-22, but as Jay Fresh says, he was not very good with the Leafs, especially in the playoffs. Could that be turned around now? Now he's on a better team. He's in a winning culture. Absolutely. But the numbers right now don't show me 3rd and a 6th on a team that has barely any draft picks to begin with. Right? So that's my breakdown of that. The Maple Leafs also get the rights to Kirill Slepets, who's a player who will likely never come to the NHL. Former 5th round pick of the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes essentially getting a 6th round pick back for the retention and for moving out Slepets. So a 5th 5 years ago turns into a 6th now in 2026. And good point from Lucas. We said that about Benoit when they signed him, right? So it could absolutely turn into a good situation. It's just, I think the reason why there's a bit more skepticism around Lyubushkin is because he's already been to Toronto and already had some trouble there. So I definitely see that side of the argument that it could very well be. again, put him in a winning environment, put him on a team that wants to go on a deep run, give him that supporting cast, and he can thrive in that physical role, not having to play 18 minutes per night. He can actually be someone who's going to be just more of a role guy. Yes, most certainly. But I would say the numbers right now do not suggest anything that really gives me a ton of confidence. And at the same time, again, the Leafs are giving up not a lot of value, but a lot of value for them. The average third and a sixth is not a third and a sixth for the Maple Leafs. When you are so limited and strapped by a lack of draft picks, a third and a sixth holds a lot more importance for Toronto than it does for the average team. So I would say it's a risky move, considering that the Leafs would want to be making other trades as well, to already be a week out from the deadline and move out those two selections. Obviously, they wouldn't move the needle for a guy like Hanifin, but it would be involved in a package. So that moves out. Lyubushkin comes in. He's going to be depth. Who knows if he'll even play as much once everybody's healthy and in, but he'll be a bit more support in there. And again, you win the Stanley Cup, you forget about that third and the sixth very quickly. But it will hurt when the picks, dozens of picks are going by and the Maple Leafs are never making any. So we're going into a bit past 15 minutes now. Ladies and gentlemen, that all does it for the breakdown, I think, of this trade. If you want to hear more breaking news and analysis as trades happen, night or day, here I am. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to be live many more times leading up to the trade deadline. When the trade drops, we are live right away, and we're breaking it down, instant reaction and analysis. So subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the rest of the channel, NHL 24, and a lot of other content here going on. Leave a like if you enjoyed the breakdown. Lyubushkin, what do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Is it a good trade? Is it a bad trade? Is it a risky trade? Hurricanes come out smelling great. No problem. They get a sixth just for dumping a guy who was never going to do much for them. But the Maple Leafs take a bit of a risk, not in terms of the player, but in terms of dealing that value now, a week out from the deadline, for a player who wasn't great the last time he was here. But now we'll see what he does with the Leafs looking a little different a couple of years later. And the Ducks, hey, a third and a sixth for a guy on an expiring deal who was already playing a little bit over his head. He was hurting Minchikov a bit. Why not? Let's just get some value for him. So those are my thoughts. I want to hear yours down here in the comments. Thank you for joining me here tonight. I'm looking forward to being live once again very soon when the next trade drops. Keep an eye out for it, and have a lovely start to the end of your week and weekend ahead, everybody. Good night.